Hello, everyone, and welcome to my new podcast called The Game Show Podcast. Here, me and a friend of mine will be discussing the latest in gaming news and our opinions on heavily discussed gaming controversies within the community. For today, we'll be discussing the console wars, which is a feud between gaming companies PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, but we'll mainly be focusing on PlayStation and Xbox. Now, I'm going to let my friend here explain in depth what the console wars are, and then let him give his take on who he thinks won and why. All right, take it from here, bro.
Now, I am going to talk about the console wars between both Xbox and PlayStation. And what is the console wars? The console wars was a time where PlayStation and Xbox were both going head to head. They were the most prominent consoles back in the 90s and even now. And they are the leader of the console industry. So, of course, there was going to be dispute amongst not only the fans, but also the two companies that made them, Sony, Microsoft. People were going head to head, arguing which one was the best console, which one had the best features, arguing that Xbox had a bunch of different features that PlayStation didn't have, and vice versa. Xbox allows you to play games from a previous generation, PlayStation doesn't. PlayStation allows you to play newer games from their catalog that are brand new, like Ratchet and Clank, Last of Us, God of War, while Xbox doesn't. The conversation and the controversy, and even the war itself, continued on and on and on for years and years until around, I'd say, 2020, when the Xbox X and the Xbox X came out. Originally, they were doing pretty good. Their console was more superior and vastly powerful than the PlayStation, but their games, not so much. PlayStation always had the lead while Xbox always staggered behind, living off their good old days. And I really do want to come up with my decision by the end of this podcast and by the end of this segment on which one is better. But I'll leave that to Kuma. I want him to talk about all of the good things that Xbox and PlayStation both created so he can come up with a decision. Now I will close it out and I'll hand over the mic to him.
Thank you. Now, first off, I want to say that I've been gaming for years, and that I truly believe that these two consoles are pretty good in their own right, but they both have flaws, and I want to talk about them. The first is that there's been an absurd increase in video game title prices, even for games that can be or are close to being considered retro. For example, PlayStation has some of their PS4 games like Red Dead Redemption 2, Star Wars, or even older Call of Duty games at egregious prices, which makes it all more frightening when you realize that these companies like to take ideas from each other, especially if they think it will benefit them in the long run. Speaking of which, let's talk about Xbox's major price increase. So recently, Xbox is charging $800 plus tax for their console, which I think is outrageous. But trust me, it gets worse, as the reason for this price increase is due to a RAM shortage, and because of this shortage, it's affecting the pricing of RAM these companies need to use for their consoles. Xbox has been rumored to have spent an enormous amount of RAM, but more so to invest in their AI shenanigans, while PlayStation seemed to have lowered their prices for the holidays. Needless to say, I believe this will heavily affect consumer opinion on which console is superior, and I truly believe as of right now, PlayStation is the winner of the console wars. But that's just my opinion. How about you, Aiden? Have you come to a decision on which console wins?
Alrighty. So for my final thoughts on both the PlayStation slash Xbox conversation and which one is better, I will side with PlayStation. PlayStation does have more versatility when it comes to their games, while Xbox does not. Now, you can make the argument that Xbox is more powerful, but what's the point of a powerful console if you don't have the games to match? There are no games on their catalog at all. Why would I buy a console just to have a powerful machine with nothing to do on it? It's like if you were to buy a car, but you don't drive it. That makes zero sense. But to be honest with you, I do have high hopes for them. I mean, their fandom is a ride to die. They're a hard ride to die fandom, and they have been sticking with Xbox since the good old days. I do think if they make a shift in the direction that they're going in terms of where they're gonna have their console at in the next couple of years, that they can make a comeback. But doing all of this crazy stuff, like increasing the dev kit prices, like originally, like they were like $1,000, now they're like $2,000. So developers have to spend more money to make games for your console is a crazy decision. Doing things like raising the prices of your console, not once, not twice, but three different times is not going to help your situation. It is not. I'm sorry. You have to be more effective and efficient at what you want to do. At the end of the day, this is a who can win over the fandom and who can win over the average consumer type of ordeal. You have to appeal to the average consumer. You have to give them what they want. If you can give them what they want, you can always be number one. That's just the truth of the matter. I'm going to choose PlayStation. And I'll close it out by giving it to Kuma.
Alrighty, guys. Now we've transitioned into our closing segment of this podcast. This is where we will sum up everything we've talked about and why we've given our final decision. First, I want to specify again that both consoles are amazing in their own right, but they have flaws, which can be minimal to some and major to others. Now, with that out of the way, let's sum up the reasons why I've chosen PlayStation. First, their exclusives are a lot better in my opinion. Ranging from Sly Cooper to God of War, the PlayStation catalog has a lot to offer to players new and old. Secondly, it's affordable. As of late, the latest consoles to me have been pretty affordable in comparison to Xbox, though. Me and my friend Aiden can agree that there has been plenty of times where PlayStation has overpriced their consoles to the extreme. But as of late, they've been one of the best selling consoles of the holiday season, besides Nintendo. Now, I would like to share one more reason, and this is just a personal favorite of mine, and that is that PlayStation has a little stream they do every year called State of Play. This is where they will let some of their upcoming games get some time to promote themselves, and I find that pretty cool. And I've enjoyed them ever since they started during the pandemic. I just think they're a nice way to keep the fans anticipating every release for that year and the next year to follow. So, again, I believe PlayStation is the best out of the two consoles we discussed today. Now, I'll let my friend close off.
All right. Now, for the consoles themselves, I've already spoke about what my thoughts were on both Xbox and PlayStation. I've already spoke about the dev kits. I've already spoken about the catalog of both consoles, and I've already spoke about what I think about both consoles. What I have not spoken about, though, however, is the way that both consoles, to me, they don't satisfy me enough as a console player nowadays. I mean, they are, how do I put this? The consoles themselves are good. I can't express that enough. They are good. Even though Xbox has fallen off, they are good. And they have been running a war with each other consistently, and PlayStation is in the lead. But the way I see it, for right now, it's not good to buy a PlayStation nor Xbox. Like the war between themselves is over with. There's a new war coming. That war being the PC versus everybody war. No one's really caring about a PlayStation or Xbox anymore since PlayStation and Xbox are both trying to rip off their consumer. Now, I mentioned a lot of good things about PlayStation and I mentioned a lot of bad things about Xbox and some good things, but I didn't say anything bad about PlayStation. But I should have, and I regret that. PlayStation has consistently made some price increases as well. Now, 3 in 1 year like Xbox? No, but they have increased their prices to a certain degree. Not to mention, the games on PlayStation themselves have not gone down. Like, you will see like a 10-year-old game or like even a 5-year-old game, like with Nintendo on PlayStation, not a Nintendo game, but a PlayStation exclusive on there for like, I don't know, $70. And if the exclusive gets put out into like the normal catalog, it will stay the same. Now, of course, if it gets put on PlayStation Plus, that's a completely different thing. But it being exclusively on the console itself, especially if it's released like maybe 3 years ago, depending on what the IP is, it's going to be roughly the same price. Like, there's no reason why some of these games should be priced at $80. There's no reason why a 10-year-old game should be this expensive. There's no reason why I should have to sit up here and pay for the games that I know for a fact I can get a better price at on Steam. Steam gives you these games practically for free. Did you know there was a time where you didn't have to do multiplayer and pay for that? There was a time where you didn't have to pay for that. Now you do. On Steam, you don't have to do that. You don't have to pay for multiplayer. Multiplayer comes instinctually, it comes naturally, right? You don't have to pay for multiplayer. The games that you get at a discount. They give you the best of both worlds. They give you all the games, not only from PlayStation, but also from Xbox. The only thing they don't have is Nintendo games, and that's because Nintendo is very, very stingy. Now, that's my closing thoughts and my final thoughts on them. I really want both of them to improve, and if they can, I'd love that. But as it stands right now, I do choose PC over both of them. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. This is the game show, logging off.